Welcome, everybody, to Stafford Atlas AI podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of John Marshall, who has a very interesting background in the technical field. He is founder of IS3 Solutions, which does a lot for the community, as well as serving a lot of businesses with their talents that they have within their staff. And I'm going to start off with John. You have a very diverse career spanning the IT enterprise, which involves project delivery, setting, and business strategies. Take us on that journey of your IT technology field and what led you to IS3 Solutions.
Sure. Thanks, Glenn. First of all, man, when I think back on my career, I realize how old I am, first of all. I started out, I graduated from Howard University, as you've seen, and I came out with an architecture degree. So I worked in the construction industry for quite some time. And lo and behold, a company called McGraw-Hill was facilitating the 1996 Olympic committees and all of their document control blueprints because they had a construction division. So after the Olympic Committee, and you might see my torch behind me, I was selected to run the Olympic torch back in '96. McGraw-Hill offered me a job, having worked with me for 7 years at the committee, to come to corporate America, leaving architecture for the first time. So I stepped into my corporate world back in, I don't want to date myself, but in the late 90s. And I spent a good 18, 20 years there, and I found out that working in that environment, not only did my architectural background come into play and make it real easy to kind of navigate the waters in these environments, I became really good at functioning and delivering and executing in these environments. At the end of my term there at McGraw-Hill, I was the CIO of the commodities division of Standard & Poor's for about 8 years, where Dodd-Frank regulatory reform was coming into play. There was a lot of CFTC regulation around the commodity sector and the ratings industries. And next thing I know, I look up and I'm really this kind of internal go-to person around regulatory reform, operational systems, and delivering at global scales. Obviously, the shortcut to IS3, which we'll come back to, is I wanted to bring that project discipline and that rigor and that accountability to IS3. So it wasn't just a nice traverse over into a business that we founded. It was more a deliberate approach to see if I could bring this rigor to a broader number of companies. And IS3 started out like that. Our first center of excellence was around the program management mindset.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, IS3 Solutions initially started as a general staffing company. What was your vision when you acquired the controlling interest in 2016, and how did you go about shifting its focus to program and project management as its first center of excellence?
So not to be disingenuous, but I say luck and just being very fortunate, it has a lot to do with these things and anybody's success, right? When I acquired IS3, we were simply a staffing company, what most of your audience out there probably refers to as body shops. At least they did back in the day. We started out as a strategic services partner. So our intention from the get-go was to build expertise in certain areas that we could leverage this PMO discipline, which led us to regulated markets. So when I first bought the company, just as an IT staffing company, the first thing we did was start to bring the discipline in around PMO. So anytime we engaged a client, whether it was me, somebody on my internal staff, a consultant, project manager, the whole message and our mission was to understand what the customer's goals are, and let's be accountable for those. Don't worry about invoices and throwing resumes over the transom. Let's figure out what they're doing, deliver really high quality, high value to these customers, and it'll pay off. So I was betting on the come, right? If I invest and do it right, like I had done for all those 20 years, it's going to pay off. As we did that, we started to bring our staff and our recruiters on board that really specialized in these regulated markets. So the first step was, let me hire a core team that understands the financial sector, cybersecurity, and these really highly regulated markets. And then from there, they would parlay their experience into bringing in more talent, more and more talent. After that, we started to build the core team out with specific expertise in market sectors. We started to build pipelines of talent and people on our team that whether not just project managers, but other skills that knew these markets. And then that went from narrowing down our focus from regulated markets to even a more narrow focus. And this is where I struggle today. Is this the right mission for us to be very myopically focused and be the best at this one thing or not? But what has proven to work well in the last 3 years is we've further refined our focus to cybersecurity, network engineering, data center services, with the blanket of the PMO mindset on top of that. And fortunately, we've been able to bring to our clients something that they really had a high demand for after George Floyd got killed in '96. All of corporate America tended to get serious about measurably changing their internal cultures and making sure they weren't missing underrepresented clients. So back to the luck part of it, I had spent 9 years on the HBCU Connects Foundation, and I knew the owners and that organization very well. They have 1.4 million professional members, women, all kinds of ethnicities. And to tap into that network of talent that most traditional body shops, if you will, were missing, gave us a kind of an edge and a value prop that nobody else could match. And then lastly, I'd say we went from regulated markets to, like I said, just these key centers of excellence, which we've seen our revenue double for the last 3 years, right? And again, I attribute a lot of that to luck and being fortunate and having good networks and all that. But I do give a lot of credit to the team because they knew they had to work a little harder than the next guy if we were to keep these clients. And that just seems to be working well right now.
Now, you mentioned working with the HBCU Foundation.
Yeah.
How did you leverage your 9 years working on the board of directors to bring these two worlds together at IS3 Solutions? And what unique competitive advantage does that provide?
So Glenn, that's a great characterization of what it was, bringing these two worlds together. A lot of this was, a lot of corporate America coming out of COVID and all that was really run by people my age, right, who only knew affirmative action. They knew that HR teams were really responsible for hiring, and they didn't really have any guidelines or metrics. And all of a sudden, everybody wants to get serious about women talent, diverse talent. And what do you do about it? They didn't have the tools. So having been with HBCU for so long, we started as a consultant to help these larger organizations. And these are Fortune 100 companies. These are big players that really put energy and clout behind these missions, right? They didn't know how to go about it. So we offered our services to come in partnership with HBCUs, sit down with them and say, here's the things you're going to do that are going to help you measurably change and still have the highest talent available, and then guide some of them through it. And then lo and behold, we're the ones to provide the talent. So we like that part as well. I will tell you a fact based from my experience in going through this whole last few years in this area. What really happened in the marketplace was a lot of companies got commitment and religion. The CEOs mandated down, let's drive some cultural change. They handed that off to the VPs and the lieutenants who had no tools. They went to HR and HR got stuck, and a lot of them ended up doing the same thing. Well, a year later, Christmas time, most of those corporations really recognized that things had kind of quieted down. The VPs didn't know what to do. There was no real measurable change happening. And we concluded that about 80% of the companies out there really lost muster and lost the steam and the energy behind this mission because the president, the CEO, didn't stay in the game long enough. So we had to start to focus on that 20% that were really committed, and that has served us, continue to. It's not an indictment on any of these companies. Don't get me wrong. A lot of times we don't have the tools. We've got to figure things out, and it's hard to do when you're in a big corporation, and you got to learn to trust. So it's not an indictment. It's just that's the way things kind of flushed out in the last 5 years or so.
Is it accurate to say that IS3 Solutions provides consulting services, or are there any products that you bring to bear with your customers?
We'd like to lead with consulting. So, yes, we do provide consulting services in partnership around this area. The services that we offer and we go to market with HBCU include very successful metrics around these services, which include job boards. Let's say Microsoft wants to drive recruitment and have a higher number of female senior managers or of any ethnic background, and they have goals defined. So what we do is we actually go not only just post the job and try to attract resumes, we will in partnership go find the talent that are qualified, interested, and are motivated and bring them to the recruiting event, for Microsoft. And so we bring the talent to them. Again, back to my earlier statement about sometimes you got to work a little harder than the next guy. This is what we did, and that has paid off. That's one of the services, the job boards, this recruiting services, where we help them put these events on. Yeah,
Okay. Now,
yeah.
with reference to this, what are you using as tools, specifically speaking, AI agents to accomplish this?
Well, fair question. Our AI usage right now is relatively significant from where I thought we would be as an organization 6 months ago, 4 months ago, even. We've adopted it operationally in so many different areas. In this instance, with HBCU, it's mostly around the collateral, the building out publicly available content. When we do email campaign blasts and try to attract folks, AI has been used there. For IS3, most of our AI use is around our internal operations, our back office processes, and I'm really deliberate about making sure that my recruiters and my team do not try to replace their expertise, which is recruiters who have 10 years minimum expertise average. I'm sorry, 10 years average expertise in recruiting for the financial sector, let's say, to make sure that AI doesn't intervene with that secret sauce they bring to the table when they're doing the screening, the interviewing, particularly with all the fraud out there. So
Well, I would
AI on the outskirts around the operations, but our core, the key value prop for us is still my people who know what they're doing and how to find the right talent.
Well, if I'm hearing you understanding, it's a matter of having the human talent that exercises human intelligence to verify how successfully the AI agents are producing the information that they need to take the necessary actions.
And hopefully take it quicker. Yes, but
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. It does save
All righty.
time. And just for your audience's knowledge, this is based on research. There's 60% of the publicly available resumes and candidates out there are to one degree or another misrepresenting their experience, whether it's just fudging a resume or something as extreme as really using somebody else's a person to answer the interview question. So it's pretty drastic out there right now, and it's getting. I don't see a solution on the horizon just yet, other than the people piece of it.
Well, one of the things I remember reviewing with your company, you do a lot of video,
Yes. Yeah.
and I'm assuming this video is to basically to target the candidate to see if they are who they are, as opposed to any warning signs that there may be that could say, no, I don't think this person's genuine in that area. Is that a correct assumption?
That is a fair assumption. The way we articulate it is that we have a trademark solution called AIV, and it's a proprietary evaluation methodology developed by us to make sure that our clients are protected from AI-assisted fraudulent interview behavior. And that comes by way of the video, and the AI attached to the video does nothing other than do the initial screening. So again, it saves us time, but at the end of the day, the candidate is interviewed 3 times with my human staff before we hand it off to a client. But we've had to, continue to stay on top of this because it's so tricky. But it
Yeah,
saves us
maybe
time.
one of
But
these days, Maybe one of these days I can go through a dry run through the process to experience
Yeah,
it. That
yeah,
would
my
be
team's thrilled about it. Yeah, behavioral analysis and project experience and coming from the sector really is second to none when it comes to finding talent for our customers. You got to know how to. If they feel fraudulent, you got to be able to confirm it and trip them up.
yep.
You so
Now, IS3 Solutions successfully doubled its revenues year over years for the
yeah,
past 3 years. What have been the key drivers behind that impressive growth?
probably one. Again, I'm not going to discount the reality of being fortunate in the right place at the right time. Okay, but we stopped investing our time and energy into some really key clients. And I mean, these are blue chip clients that I would kill for today that had a managed service provider layer between us and the hiring managers. So I don't know if I can mention companies on this call or not. Probably not a good thing to do. Anyway, I would say two of the Fortune 100 companies that we had under contract for years, we struggled and we worked with their intermediate managed service provider who were securing talent for the company. And the performance metrics, the goals that they set, the support that they had for companies like mine, which is a small company, just was non-existent. And I'd find 6, 9 months later, I just spent all this time, money, and resources, and you got one interview, because we're competing with the Accentures and the Tatas of the world, yet we're a small company. Well, I thought you put this in place to help companies like us, have a level playing field. It was a lot of what do you call it? Word service, if you will. But we had to back away from any clients that have this relationship with MSPs for the time being.
Okay.
Yeah, it was too costly
Now,
for a small company.
I can imagine. What
Yeah.
new skills are you focusing on acquiring and what strategies are you exploring to scale while maintaining your company's culture and principles?
Oh boy, man, that's the loaded question. That's my job. That is 100%, Glenn, what I'm doing right now. As we scale and grow, how do we maintain this culture of people first, which is one of our core values? And that's the consultants, people in the field, my core team, families of my core team, keeping that first while growing. And like any corporation, as you scale, you're going to lose that intimacy, of course. I am struggling really hard to make sure that we scale smartly without losing that. And not everything becomes a number on a spreadsheet. I've got some good mentors. I'm again, we're not there yet, and I'm committed to making sure we keep this culture and this family first and people first culture. But our focus is to stay very, very narrowly focused in the regulated markets, which will be energy and then financial sector around cybersecurity, network engineering, and we're starting to do AI engineering quite a bit. Again, I don't want to quite say we have a center of excellence yet, but I think it's a combination of making sure my team knows they have our full support, and then staying very focused in what they do, like crazy focused. And I think that could be a winning hand. But that's exactly where we are on our pathway, right? Our journey right now, trying to scale, while not losing that special thing that we bring to the table. It's tricky.
Okay, we discussed using AI tool and video recording, resume comparison analysis to weed out the unqualified talent. Can you elaborate on how these AI tools are integrated into your recruiting process and how they enhance the efficiency without compromising the human touch?
So all of the tools that you mentioned in the processes, that you mentioned using AI or any online tool or any technologies that we use really only gets that screening to my people. So we have not in any way replaced the first touch point with my staff when it comes to figuring out if they're qualified for any job. So this is really just saving time up front, the screening. And then when it is time to hand it off to the senior person before it goes to a client, All of those tools do a comprehensive analysis, a resume comparison against the skills, and what kind of behavioral characteristics came up in the interviews, the face-to-face. So it's bringing a level of intelligence that our people have, but AI is so good at articulating it and making it in consumable chunks that my senior guys know who they want to talk to in that final round. Those one or two people out of 100 that they want to have a face to face before we hand them off to a client. But the process is it's a little over my head because I'm not that close to the day to day, but
Okay.
it is very methodical. I see the results in the metrics, but I've only seen a handful firsthand of the interviews and the videos myself. It's pretty amazing stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, your leadership philosophy emphasizes business execution and delivering enterprise technology projects with measurable outcomes.
Yes.
As one of the four authors of CFTC's Self Governing Industry Guidelines and the author of Globally Used Patent for Sharing Pricing Information, how do
Yeah.
you instill this discipline and the rigor in IS3 Solutions?
We adopt these disciplines from a two-pronged kind of perspective. I would say internally, how we make sure that we understand the desired outcome, and then again back to what my job is today, culturally, to make sure our whole core team understands where we're going together, and that's by defining the planned business outcomes for us as a company and making sure they know they share in that success. It's a little harder when it comes to the client, although it's the same mission, right? So if I put a project or program manager on a client's project and I try to convince this now W-2 employee, you've got to not just look at your job, but look at what our client's trying to achieve 2 years from now. What's the bigger investment supposed to create? And if they can articulate that, then they will do better than just their day-to-day job task. So it's kind of a two-pronged thing. Internally, it's about the culture, like you said earlier. With the client, it's about making sure our W-2 employees that is working with that client knows that he's still part of our family. He's going to get all the support he needs. He's not going to get harmed if he looks beyond his day-to-day task. I guess that's what running a small business is about, right? Trying to keep people motivated and things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Uh,
we touched bases on this before as far as investing in people development. So,
yes.
the investment in people development by creating career paths for diverse professionals. How does IS3 Solutions actively foster this environment? And what is your approach to nurturing technical talent, especially within the minority communities?
So as we know, and your audience probably knows, when it comes to diverse talent in the IT space, there's a large percentage that are Indian or Caucasian. There's a small percentage that are female and African American and other backgrounds. So coming out of the gate, we got our job in front of us, right? We got work to do, which means we got to find the talent. Um, Fortunately or unfortunately, I just launched a new cybersecurity training platform for all of my employees last week, and that has really taken precedent over many things as far as training and coaching and growth for the individuals out of necessity. It's an unfortunate necessity, but that's where my energy has gone in the last couple of months. We've also started analysis, and we work with our employees. We understand what their certifications are, and we make sure that they will come to us to foster further and extend those certifications or get the next level up, right? So we actually track that with our employees. We have an ongoing list, and we're proud of that. So we can promote and market them, or the company can market their capabilities. When it comes to minority talent, the first order has always been find the qualified talent, and then from that point, when they're on board, they have to be self-motivated to go get the further certification. We pay for it, we give time off, PTO and all of that, but they've got to be self-motivated. These are things you can't force feed, but they see the money that can be made in a cybersecurity world if you're certified, whether you're black, white, or purple. You know what I mean? There's a high demand out there, and we're trying to encourage that, and then let them know we will support it. But self motivation's got to come first. You know, that commitment. So we put money
How
behind it.
many
We put
individuals?
our time. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish your comment.
I was the short answer to that is we'll put money and time and energy behind it, but we want to see them wanting to get it done first, as well. Sorry, I interrupted your question.
No, no worries. Uh, the thing that I'd be intrigued with, because I'm going to take uh, your puppy as far as I'm concerned. I just turned 66 today. The One of the things that I found very fascinating back when I first started in the industry is the
Yeah.
number of psychology and sociology degree holding people came into play
Okay.
working in IT. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would
Okay.
assume that could still be a problem today where we have a lot of individuals, they find out that, I'm not sure I'm going to make money in this field. Let's see what I can do to enter into the IT field.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what's their plan of attack? What would you recommend for them to be able to launch an IT career?
Well, definitely, this is a more personal kind of viewpoint of the topic, and I agree with you. We've had some people coming from accounting and other industries.
Well, you
They've
were from the
encouraged.
architect, you were from
Yeah,
architecture.
exactly. Play to your strengths. I mean, whether it's psychology or accounting, IT is, you can learn that. You can get your certification, all that. But if you bring something a little extra to the table and promote it and unapologetically let your bosses know you have this little extra capability that helps him understand his staff or prioritize things or do some financial analysis, I think it's a big deal. So always play to your strengths. But yeah, I mean, I've placed people in jobs up to $300 an hour in one of our public sector client positions. That's great money in any year that you look at it. So how could you not encourage people to go that direction? And there's still a high demand.
Yes, one of the things that we discussed this in the pre-broadcast. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm referencing touch point. Okay, do you recall that?
I probably have notes from our talk, but touch point.
Okay, well, one of the things touch point. Um, the thing is that touch point with the candidate has to be intimate and personal with somebody who knows what they're looking for and knows which questions to ask. How
Yes,
do
that
you
would be
prepare them for that?
that would be my recruiters. And again, back to the most valuable thing that IS3 brings to our clients is that right there, that the recruiters who have expertise in data center services for the financial sector and highly regulated environments around regulatory reform. So that kind of specialty, if my recruiter has that expertise, he's going to be able to weed out the noise, as it were. We don't really prepare them for that. We actually have to find them and attract them to IS3 and then hope they will bring that to the company versus us training them. And then experience will take over after a few years. But
Okay,
we gotta search for that kind of talent as well. Yeah. Yeah.
the one of the things that these individuals will have to be able to differentiate themselves. Otherwise,
Yeah.
they fall into a potential pitfall. What would that pitfall be?
Boy, back to the human view of this. I want to see integrity. I mean, integrity and commitment and honesty. These are global values, right? These are not our company values. They are part of our company values, but they're not our stated or aspirational values. But I need to see that, and if I see any hint of the lack of that, can you restate your question? Say that question again. I'm sorry. I want to make
Well,
sure I get it right.
basically, you have a situation where an individual um, lacks the ability to differentiate themselves from
Yeah.
others. So,
Yeah.
what is that process that they need to do so they can excel?
Okay, so on my core team, I would say we have to spend a lot of time coaching. I just brought in a new employee from Central America. Most of our people are US based, but this is one individual, the first person I've hired in Central America. And I'm willing to put 9 months of time and energy before I expect them to start to show performance. You know, I'm not sure. I think the video might have cut off, Glenn, but that's a great question. And I think I've got to be willing to invest a considerable amount of time and money in the individual for them to come into their own. You know what I mean?
Now, one of the things you mentioned as far as there's low percentages from the minorities.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you, or what do you think needs to be done to get the word out that, hey, you reaching out to them saying, hey, you can be successful in this industry?
Yeah. I think it's a long game. It's unfortunate, but in the short term, I find somebody with some technical acumen. Hey, let me support you, get your certification. We will back you. You need a firm like us to be there for you. But the bigger picture, to really see some measurable change in the industry, we've got to find a way to have STEM professionals get into the professional workplace without a 4 year degree necessarily, right? Whether it's a micro degree or something. And there's ways to do that. I actually put together an abstract for a California senator around the infrastructure reform law, which is now law, but it's probably not going to be spent, to find ways to partner with HBCU to get these younger generations out there with, the STEM professional backgrounds and into internship programs to accelerate that growth. I think that's a bigger, ambitious thing that I would like to take on over the next 5 years or so. But unfortunately, it's other than that, it's going to be, at least my experience, individual by individual.
Okay.
But that is a mission of mine, actually, and in partner with NMSDC as well, and HBCU. So I'm going to try to foster the relationship between those worlds to get some of the younger generation into these fields quicker.
How many HBCUs are you working with now?
Well, the HBCU partnership with HBCU Connect is all 103, 107, depending on how you look at it. We work with about 4 or 5 directly, and it depends on what the client needs are. So the last client, the last client we had a regional need, so we knew we had to draw from talent that was. You mentioned, I would say, one of the universities you mentioned earlier. I can't remember what it was.
Grambling or Tuskegee?
Yeah, Grambling, I think. And then the program I'm trying to implement now is 9 HBCUs up and down the East Coast through North Carolina up to Howard, and really engaging with the presidents to see if it doesn't cost them money, can they support a program like I'm promoting to drive this accelerated entrance into the STEM professional world, but that's one of the things. Hopefully, when we check back in a little while, I'll give you an update, and hopefully, it'll be a promising update
Well,
on
that
that front.
sounds great. Look forward to follow up with you.
All
The
right.
um, what is your website? Is it is3solutions.com?
It is. Yes. Now I'm in the middle of updating it. I'd discourage anybody from going there. That website is from when I bought the company. Everything we've talked about is not represented there. So in about 2 months, I will have a new website. But yes, you have the right address.
is3solutions.com. Okay. Now, we're wrapping up here. And one of the things that I want to do is to give you the floor to provide an elevator pitch for IS3 Solutions, encapsulating what its core mission is, the values, and what truly differentiates your organization in this market.
Okay. And this 30-second elevator pitch should be at the top of my tongue, but we are a strategic technology services partner and provider. So we partner with our clients to bring highly qualified, highly skilled talent with specific project experience to their project needs. But broadly speaking, we feel that our mission is, which is starting to now get traction, is we are positioned in a very unique way with resources that go access to resources that are beyond the traditional, the LinkedIn, the Dices. We have resources beyond that to make sure that our strategic partnerships with our clients have access to otherwise underrepresented talent, minority, female, Caucasian, doesn't matter, just some those are typically overlooked. And on the flip side of that, we want to be the go-to for professionals who need and deserve or should have access to highly qualified, high paying career positions in these corporate worlds. And we believe those two worlds have been missing each other in large part because nobody's working that extra, going that extra mile to match them up. So, but in the broader sense, everything we do is designed to chip away at the inequity, the economic inequities that are fostered by this mismatch. At the end of the day, we just have to work a little harder, and that's been paying off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, John, I want to thank you for your time. This was an excellent podcast, tapping into your brain, getting your insights of what IS3 Solutions does. And this is definitely beneficial to our audience. And I strongly encourage anybody who finds IS3 Solutions to be someone you want to reach out to, definitely do so. Is there a point of contact telephone number?
Yes, you could do our corporate line, or you can also, Glenn, share my email address on the podcast when you post it. But I'm at 321-282-6122. That's our corporate office. Yeah, but I am easy to reach, and I'm actually one of those owners who always answers his phone.
So, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's hard.
That's a far cry better than some of the services that I will tell you offline as far as today's frustration that just totally blows my mind.
It is frustrating. All right.
Well, again, John Marshall, thank you very much for your time. Again, ladies and gentlemen, John Marshall from IS3 Solutions. Very interesting organization doing great stuff for the community. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.